I want everyone to think about your family. Everyone to think about your mom, how she cared for you, how she loved you. Now think about your dad, how he protected you and loved you. Now think about your siblings, how even though you fight with them, you will always have each other's backs. Now I do know that not everyone has this kind of family. Sometimes a family is the friends you meet in school, or your grandparents when your parents weren't around. A family is simply the people who support you the most and love you unconditionally. Think about how important a family is to a child, how loved they need to be, and how much they deserve that love. Now imagine the family being stripped away from that child for no reason other than they are different. Because of this difference, the family no longer sees a way to love that child. But the child didn't do anything wrong. They sit and wonder how they lost the people they love most. Just the other night, their mother was reading a story to them in bed, a story about a caterpillar. Was that time not special? Was it not enough? The difference between this child and another who hasn't done anything wrong is that this child is gay. This child came out to their parents, and now they are facing negative consequences from people they thought they could call their family. Now imagine a bedtime story where both the child and the parent can learn. They can both learn about the importance of support from each other and learn about different dynamics of families. The child can learn about the diversity of the world and how it is okay for some children to be gay or transgender, and the parents can learn how to build a supportive atmosphere for the child if they are LGBT. While there is very little representation of LGBT people in media, the stories that are shared en masse are stories of heartbreak and rejection. But now, it is time that children are able to see the LGBT family unit as something positive and supportive and possible. The entire family can learn this and understand this through children's books. By reading children's books, many people will be able to learn about the different family dynamics that both exist and are accepted. Not only are there many different types of family units outside of the LGBT community, but they are all perfectly accepted within our society and are hardly ever challenged by the general public. But there are particular family units that face a lot of rejection and hate from people they don't know and from people they know. These family units include gay couples, transgender people, bisexual teenagers, lesbian mothers. These are the types of families that some people have complaints about. Why? One theory is that they simply did not learn enough about these families. A book called Heather Has Two Mommies was one of the first books written for children to help combat this. In this story, Heather is dropped off at school by her two mothers, and later, the teacher of Heather's class has everyone draw their families. Every child in this story draws a family that is different from the next. One has a stepfather, one has cousins, one has two dogs, but each family is different. By reading a story like this, both the child and their parents can learn something from it. A child can learn that their family is amazing no matter who makes it up, and everyone can be loving and supportive of the other members. They can learn that there is a possibility for a loving and supportive family for them, even if they have to eventually come out to this family. A child is also introduced to the idea that some families are different from theirs, and that's all right. Learning about different families can help ensure that the child never develops any prejudice against LGBT people simply because their families are different. A parent is able to learn how important it is to be a supportive family member. Oftentimes, when a child comes out as gay or trans, they are rejected by their family. They may be thrown on the streets, forced to move out, or given a cold shoulder from their mother. But a book like Heather Has Two Mommies is able to challenge this worldview by bringing awareness of the different family dynamics that exist to the parents. Both children and parents are able to learn and understand and accept the families that contain LGBT dynamics by reading about these stories together. Understanding that a child needs a loving support system is a crucial step in the acceptance of the LGBT community. The acceptance of the LGBT community would overall help a lot of things and ultimately save the lives of children. Sadly, many children end up living awful lives or end up dying because of their identity as an LGBT individual and because of their unsupportive family. Yet this could all be avoided by teaching people, particularly children, that they should be accepting and supportive of the LGBT community. Introducing them to a topic itself is an important first step in ensuring they ultimately accept the community as a normal and deserving part of society. Parents can help their children by reading different books to them, particularly books about acceptance. One book in particular has gained immense popularity by being about this very subject. Both children and their parents can learn from a book called I Am Jazz. I Am Jazz is a story about a girl who realized she was a bit different from everyone else from a very early age. She realized she was born with the wrong body. She was born with a boy's body. This story outlines this little girl's journey to becoming who she really is, along with the support of her family. Children can learn what it means to be transgender while also learning that if they are a bit different, their family can be supportive of them and their identity. Parents can learn the importance of being supportive as well as learning about children exploring gender and why it is important to let them be who they truly are. Another book is slightly less obvious about this subject, but the message is still there. A book called From the Stars in the Sky to the Fish in the Sea explores the journey of a shape-shifting child called Lan, who shifts into many different things while trying to decide what they want to become. This may seem less obvious to someone unfamiliar with the LGBT community, but it essentially also follows the path of a child exploring and discovering their gender identity. Introducing these topics at bedtime will help bring attention to the LGBT community from the children and the parents, who can both learn about creating a safe space for exploration for the child and providing support in a loving way. Providing representation of the LGBT community will give these children a character they may identify with, just as every other non-LGBT child can identify with many other characters. However, this idea of giving children an identity and a safe space to explore themselves still drums up some controversy. A recent tweet from the BBC asks, "Is it morally right for 5-year-old children to learn about LGBT issues in school?" The main issue with this tweet is that it implies that LGBT history is inherently wrong and debatable, as if LGBT issues in history is something that should be erased. And it has been. Most of what I was taught in school about LGBT issues was about the AIDS epidemic and the rights of LGBT people. I was never taught about the Stonewall riots. I never learned about the ancient Greeks and the ancient Egyptians having same-sex marriages, and I never learned about all the different writers and entertainers and scientists who were LGBT because they were erased from history. If we introduced important figures like Martha P. Johnson, Harvey Milk, Bessie Smith, and Sylvia Riviera to children in school, they could be idolized, like Martin Luther King Jr., Albert Einstein, and Amelia Earhart, and we wouldn't have had to face events like Ellen DeGeneres losing her TV show, President Trump not recognizing Pride Month, and the Pulse nightclub shooting. By giving children books about the LGBT community and its history, we can minimize the prejudice against the community that continues to persist in our society. A great book to introduce children to is Pride, The Story of Harvey Milk and the Rainbow Flag. This book goes through Milk's process of why the flag was created and why each color is important to the community. In case you didn't know, the colors of the LGBT flags are not chosen at random. Each color of the rainbow flag and every other LGBT flag holds meaning to the community. Children who read this book may be able to understand the community a little better. If they are not a part of it, they can learn to empathize with it. And if they are a part of it, they can begin learning about what it means to be LGBT. Everything I have said is part of the continuing fight for equality of LGBT people. Sure, the community has rights, but the people still face hate every day. A friend makes an offhand comment, joking about how something is gay. A teenager is kicked out of their house for coming out to someone they thought they could trust. A child is killed for existing in a country that has laws in place to continue the idea that LGBT people are not real people. So children should read these books. Children should be allowed to read these books and learn about their community. The more representation there is of the LGBT community, the better. And these books should not be banned because the existence of LGBT people is not a moral issue. Most media involving LGBT people is sexualized and traumatic. The children deserve to see a community that is positive and supportive and full of love. Books like Heather Has Two Mommies and Simon vs. the Homo Sapien Agenda can provide this space for children and their parents to learn about the community and how to love each other for being a part of it.